serious stuff about to begin. Magnus Carlsen with a win will book his place in the final. He is missing the Champions Chess Tour at this point. He's won 4 years in a row. Will this be number 5?
And that's a double-edged sword, right? If you go all out, you're also exposing yourself to positions where it might backfire. So the risk versus reward, how is Magnus Carlsen going to measure it? It's 3, 2, 1. And we've got action. First move, what's it going to be? It's the King's Pawn opening. Oh. And the Sicilian.
C3 Sicilian for the kill. Let's go, David. We hype over here. We both play this.
Wow. One of my favorite openings from childhood. Magnus, though, he has developed a soft spot for the C3 Sicilian in recent years. He used it, actually, to totally neutralize Pragnananda in the World Cup final last year in 2023. This when he's happy with the draw. He wants to push, but he wants to have one hand on the break.
Championship match, who also discussed a lot of the Sicilian Alpine ideas with him. So Magnus employing all of that right now. Now, this is traditional theory here, right? We're in a standard position where black really wants to put pressure on the d4 pawn. I've played against the Alpine. I love how both of you love it from the white side. I really enjoy playing against it because I get the isolated queen's pawn. I'm coming for it, and I just feel that black can play for a slight push there.
Well, Magnus clearly hasn't studied my games. I'm an advocate of putting the bishop on e3 in that position. Pawn takes c5 actually in the last position as well, if you want to imbalance things. But Magnus plays it very, very safe.
I actually like the bishop e2 move. That's funny. I like bishop e2, bishop e2 castles, bishop e3, knight bd2 setup. That's my favorite. And then rook e1 and knight takes d4. Let's see what he goes for.
I need Maxime to take on d4 and get that IQP. Ooh. And now he needs to decide, does he swipe the queen to the right side of the board, but then you're lining it up against the bishop at some moments. You usually fall back with the queen to a more defensive square.
Yeah, you have a choice here. A few safe squares to retreat to. And Magnus most likely will capture a pawn on c5, and we'll see the queens come off quite early. I think Magnus wants to play this very safe, and I'm not saying that this is totally equal, because white will have a 3 versus 2 majority on the queen side. It's actually maybe a more mobile majority in the near future. But yeah, ultimately, this isn't the most aggressive way to play with white. And it's a clear insight into his strategy, Magnus. He just wants to probe away, say to Maxime, how ambitious are you feeling? Queen's not off yet, but expansion on his mind.
In fact, the best book ever written. It is sometimes you may be able to find a PDF for free online, but there's the Alpine. It's called The Complete C3 Sicilian by Evgeny Sveshnikov. Big yellow book, and it was nice, and it actually had everything in it. In fact, and one of the things in there was talking about the Endgame chapters, where David pointed out is a 3 versus 2 on the queen side, which, of course, if you study the Endgames, you understand and know that the queen side majority is the better majority to have going into an endgame. So when all the pieces trade off, you have 3 versus 2, and you have sort of an advantage, quotation marks, where you can play for something more due to the queen side majority in endgames. So that book actually was so good because it went over the games, but it also showed you what endgames could potentially look like as well.
You guys are very pessimistic about the black pieces against the Alpine. I will tell you one of the plans that Maxime can have here. You know, put that queen on e7, advance that e-pawn 1 step ahead, and activate that bishop. Get the rook on the d file, and you've got your own trumps to speak of. Endgame, you mentioned no endgame for you here.
No endgame, I'm telling you. Okay.
We will see who is correct. Knight to a4 now kicks away this bishop. I love that book as well, James, by the way. It's so heavy, though.
It's a heavy book, right? It's like 400 pages. I remember starting reading it without a board at some point. I kept reading it over and over. Just try to, you know, obviously work on calculation and seeing visualization, etc.
Ooh, hesitation there.
What happened there?
He pulls back. He put that bishop on a7. To me, that was the natural square to retreat. But he goes with the same decision.
And maybe it's because white can at some point choose to box in that bishop by pushing a pawn to c5, keeping this bishop kind of locked up on the edge of the board. But pushing this pawn forward does give black access to a nice outpost in the center. So you have to give some to take some.
Take.
I just saw that logo behind Magnus's head. It's in my brain now. But yeah, I'm expecting actually Magnus to maybe develop this bishop first of all. Some nice juicy squares in the black camp, and I'm scared of your e5 move, Tanya. I think if black breaks this bishop out, then suddenly things could turn.
Yeah, I don't like that move bishop to f4 because I really want to put my queen on e7 and it's on the board.
Yeah.
No more queen e7, bishop d6 would be a nice cure.
You heard your plan. Maybe he's not listening to music, he's listening to you, Tanya, guessing the move here. But I'm not sure what black should even play now. He develops his bishop. And yeah, Maxime's been playing Sicilians his whole life, his whole career. Actually, I played a match against him when we were like 9 years old, and 8-game match. He won, of course. 5.5, I think 2.5. But yeah, there were lots of C3 Sicilians there, and actually he always did pretty well against them, even in the endgame stages. So, okay, bishop to d7.
I'm still finding, I mean, I'm going to say it, Black's position's pretty healthy, right? No big weaknesses, no big pawn weaknesses. There are plans to improve your position. You're stopped queen e7, but Maxime can next line up the rook against the e-pawn and start pushing it up the board. With white's knight on a4, you really want to be able to play e5 because there's no knight d5 jump.
Yeah, while a knight is sidelined, often it is actually a good idea to start pushing in the center. So if he can, he will. Bash the grab.
Did someone say something about an endgame?
There is an idea of like bishop d6. You can try to play active as you can. I remember for me, I love this playing the c3 Sicilian because I can try to play super active. So bishop d6 after rook e8, you can go with b4, believe it or not, which is actually trying to gain space on the queen side, or knight to c5. But I think bishop c8 is a kind of a nifty move that can be played here. But b4, and you see, you're going to have to play accurately here. Of course, it's something that, you know, obviously MVL can do. But it is, for white, is you can start feeling like, okay, I could create something here. Start pushing these pawns, B and C, and then we start figuring out what do we do next. But also we could follow up with maybe, before this, maybe even knight to C5 or knight E5, trying to stop, like push as well. But bishop D6 is a nice...
Great
nice
call.
move. Plays knight C3, though, backs it up. Doesn't like it over there on the
I thought we saw bishop d6 on the board.
I thought we would as well, the most natural move, right? But I guess he knows this is up his sleeve. He can play it on the next turn if necessary. First, his knight has eyes on, firstly, this black bishop. Bishop pair would be like gold dust in this type of position, such an open center, but like also outpost for the knight, maybe on d6.
Oh, nice move there. I like that. Just neutralizing the dark squared bishop, because like you were pointing out, that knight from c3 can be heading to d6 as well. So bishop b8, getting rid of this will help that cause of e5 at some point.
Ooh, that's a high quality move. Bishop to b8. Not obvious at all, retreating the bishop, locking in your rook, but understanding that the bishop was a target and white's bishop was beautiful.
Maybe bishop g5, just because of that. He plays queen c1, that's nifty. I like the bishop g5 because maybe it annoys you a little bit. It's just an annoying pin. And I'm asking you, are you going to play h6, g5? I mean, he could. He probably would do that. But bishop g5 was quite annoying, but Magnus goes for queen c1, bringing a rook over to the d file.
David, it's so much about the fight for this e5 move, right, which is constantly being stopped. Because now if you play e5, then you go bishop g5 and the knight jumps to d5. So as long as the bishop is alive, it's kind of a tough move to make. Maxime thinking right now, but I've got a question for both of you. If this game ends in a draw, who's going to be happier about the result? Or do you think that just suits both of them?
Well, I think they'll both be happy. We'll be happy, right? We get another game, a must-win situation for one of the players.
Who's playing white?
Who's playing white, exactly. Maxime will need to win that final game if this is a draw. Right now, it's looking very balanced, it's got to be said. He's done everything right, Maxime, to neutralize this opening.
What's going on with Magnus? He's looking everywhere except the board.
He's like, why is it silent? Why is there no music?
He's like smiling too as well, like a little grin there.
Yeah, I think that's a cue for our players on a little bit. Hype them up.
He was looking at you guys through the mirror there. He sees you.
He's just checking himself out in the mirror. The mirror
Greatness staring back.
Yeah. Staring back at me.
And okay, the queens, will they come off? What was that about an endgame, Tanya?
Ooh. It hasn't happened just yet.
To take, or to not take? That's the question.
That is
queens
the question.
on off.
What move do you think is next, chat? Use take in chat. Come on, you already know. Segue, exclamation point, take in chat. You can guess and get involved.
I don't know. It depends on Magnus's mood. I think taking the queens is totally fine, but it's a very balanced type of endgame, especially with dark squared bishops off. It's unclear how white's going to advance on the queen side.
I like queen h4. Oh, it looks like he adjusted or
Shadoobing,
yeah.
Yeah, we could hear that.
Okay, shake of the head. I think he was like, oh, missed that move. Queen to b8, very clever. Again, such a high quality game here. This looks like classical chess, where you're just kind of applying some pressure. The opponent has all the answers and neutralizes you. But things will speed up soon.
I want to say that this is a different kind of endgame if it happens from the one that you guys were discussing, because that plan of advancing those 3 versus 2 is not so easy. Exactly because of the point you made that the dark square bishops are off the board. So getting that B pawn moving for white will not be the easiest thing to achieve. Meanwhile, for black, you put your rook on b8, you put your rook on d8, the E pawn moves forward, your bishop gets active. I think for Maxime, it will not be too tough to hold that endgame.
Yeah, at least to hold. It's still a 3-result endgame, right?
I think he's moving away. That hand movement, yeah, he comes back.
Okay, ambitious from Magnus. I think match situation, he was tempted to take the queens off, but objectively, it's stronger to keep the queens on. And Maxime totally clamps down on the white queen side now. Very committal move, though. That black A pawn is on a light square. Long term, that's a big, big target. So actually, endgames now might not be what Maxime wants. He's aiming to totally just lock up the queen side, though, and play on the other side, other flank later, where he has the pawn majority.
But I like this idea, right? Like you said, don't go into an endgame, but there are still a lot of pieces on the board. He's vacated a really nice square for his own bishop to fall on. Bishop c6, put that bishop on the diagonal. That knight from e7 can jump to f5 with a tempo, hitting that queen, dislodging it. And then you can start challenging the rooks on the d line. I also really like Maxime's time management here. He's up on the clock.
Definitely up on the clock here. I like, I'm always biased because, of course, we love C3 Sicilian here. But
who's we?
Well, me and David. In fact, me and David, not you, Tanya. In fact, never. We weren't talking about you at all, Tanya. But we do like, there's ideas of attacks at any moment. So bishop d3 can happen, which he plays. And then the idea here is obviously taking on f5 in some cases. But you can actually back the bishop up to b1. At some point, even rook lift the rook to d4 and over to h4. I've done this many times. It's how I know. Like, I just like, oh, out of nowhere, the C3 Sicilian becomes a very aggressive opening. But bishop b1, knight e5, rook d4 over to the king side, and you're mating. I mean, the queen's on b8. But it's just big possibilities that you give yourself by actually rook lifting. If you even rook lift, do you even rook lift? But the bishop is ideally placed now. You back it up to b1 so you can rook lift and bring it over to the king side.
Wow, fortune teller here. If that happens, James, we're going to, I don't know how we're going to celebrate, but that would be an automatic win of Guess the Move.
Here it is, 95. There's also an f4 now possibility.
There is a rook lift by Maxime, though.
Play f4 here. Maybe knight g6, I guess, is what he wants. But f4 is possibility. Yeah, this could get spicy in a few moves. MVL is obviously an attacker. He can obviously defend this type of stuff, but you can just smell the attack in like a few moves here. You're like putting the spices together. You're like cooking. You're mixing in the bowl right now, and then you put it in the oven.
This is making me hungry.
Okay, rook comes to e1. Does he have the right ingredients for an attack, or can black fend things off now? And okay, Maxime, look at this hand gesture. It looks like he's counting with his left hand there. He was like one,
Takes
two pieces.
No, three. Okay, no. Carry to one.
He's a maestro. He's just orchestrating.
Conducting his pieces to good squares. I'd rook lifted because it's really clumsy, and we've seen so many times in the match so far today, loose pieces do drop off. The black rook on the edge of the board is undefended. He plays pawn to h6.
Bishop b1. I'm telling you. Listen. Oh, same idea. Bishop c2 hits the pawn. That's even clever. More clever. Hits the a4 pawn. Rook d4 for the score.
This is getting a bit scary for black.
Now it's scary, Tanya. I need my money right now, Tanya.
I need Maxime to show the right defense here. At some point, I'm expecting him to neutralize that light squared bishop with a move like knight f5. But that does come at a formation and some weaknesses to deal with. Yeah. But how long can you allow this light squared bishop to be alive? It does it instantly.
Yeah, I understand that. I would probably do that too. It's getting annoying. You got to get rid of this, but I don't want to. So maybe I go queen f4 with the idea of g4, Tanya.
Yeah, and again, if Magnus converts this attack, this is match over. Yeah. Magnus is through to the finals.
Yeah, I was going to say it's scary for black's position. He's about to drop his queen back, it looks like. It's also scary how spot on you were, James, with the attacking ideas for white, but this is designed to just try and get pieces off the board. Even if white just takes that knight, he doesn't. He drops his queen back. I was going to say you can take the knight, you can take the bishop, have a slightly better pawn structure for the endgame, no risk. But the knight's not running away, so very interesting, ambitious decision by Magnus Carlsen right there, purely because black struggles for moves. I don't think you really want to challenge the d-file right now, because actually after there is a threat, knight takes bishop followed by this pawn dropping on a4, so you might have to defend against that.
And rook d8 is rook takes and knight f7.
Knight f7.
Oh, you saw that, Tanya? Oh yeah, Tanya's swinging out here. Tanya, you an Alpen player now, Tanya? Is that
I know the dangers that exist.
Oh, you know the danger. Okay.
But I like you know what that does? It stops that f7 trick in many positions. If you do take on c6, then it keeps the 7th rank defended, no rook entry. So f5 captured right now, and that queen on a7 doing a great job, eyeing f2 as well as keeping the 7th rank guarded.
Okay, Magnus just creates some lift, some air for the white king. So no back rank checkmates now, also stopping any knight g4 shenanigans. The black queen's really well placed, I've got to say. But if the queens come off, I do fear for Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, just because of these two huge weaknesses on the queen side. Isolated pawns, he keeps his queen active. This is still anyone's game. This could turn in either direction. Ooh, he's trying to force the queens off.
And you have to take it because queen takes pawn. There's a checkmate on the board.
Let's show that.
Oh my gosh.
Show the chat that.
Let's show it. Queen takes pawn would be a huge blunder right now because queen sacrifice, spotted by Tanya there. Queen takes f8, forcing the black king out and into a square. It can get checked. You can drop the knight in the way, but nope. That is a double rook checkmate. And wow, huge moment, huge trap in the air. That means queens have to come off. I think he should just eliminate it.
Yeah, he can't blunder this one because queen takes rook is a threat. You can't move the queen to anywhere.
Yeah.
Try rook e8, I guess.
Same tactic if you run away.
And just try to trade on his own terms with rook e8.
Yeah.
Possible, but...
Queen b6 would keep the queens on the board because
okay.
you got the d8 square.
Right.
But I agree with you, David. Get rid of that queen on e7. It's just too dangerous.
So scary. And at least this will give black the time to come with his own rook and attack white's only weak spot. The only soft spot is this backward b pawn. But first you need to get rid of the queens. Unless you're willing to just risk all these tricks, all these tactics coming. If your queen moves away, there are also ideas of rook to d8. Not quite yet, but white has so many tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, and Maxime also has the chance to get active if he instantly trades on e7 and puts that rook on the b file, right? You can start taking advantage of that move a4, which clamped down on the b2 pawn.
Yeah, and I think the reason you don't necessarily want to play rook to b8 immediately is firstly, white can actually trade queens, maybe go pawn hunting, grab on a4, but also there will be rook to d8 check ideas, keeping the queens on and going for the black king. Okay, Maxime's down to 2 minutes, though.
Needs to make a decision.
It's getting scary for black.
Oh my gosh!
He blundered me.
Oh my goodness!
Look at Magnus.
Oh my.
This is how the semifinals is about to end.
He blundered me.
Magnus has seen this.
He didn't see it.
Oh my gosh!
I'm done. I'm out. All right, y'all have a good one. All right, y'all. All right, chat. Hey, peace. I'm gone. All right, I'm out. I'm out.
I can't believe this.
Mutual blindness. It happens sometimes. You trust the opponent.
But did he spot it? Do you think he spotted it now?
Magnus
That was
reacted
a
slightly.
checkmate in two.
It would have been over. Magnus would have been in the finals. Now it's still anyone's game. Magnus has a small advantage, but he is a pawn down.
That's crazy.
Just happened.
They half a human, of course. Remember that, right? Half a human. And you know what? It would just happen in the we have some cuts and some edits here. Shout out to the editing team. But with the Hikaru mate, I'm sure you guys saw that chat with the Hikaru mate thing where Hikaru blunders mate and Magnus doesn't see it, and Hikaru starts laughing. He's like, Maiden won, right? It happens because these guys are again half a human. It happens.
We could hear the crowd, by the way.
Yeah.
We could hear the crowd reacting to that missed opportunity, the moment of mutual blindness, madness, whatever you call it.
Crazy, bro.
And I think he still doesn't know, which is probably the best for a player. You know, if you haven't spotted it, it's best not to spot it until the game is over because it keeps playing on your mind otherwise.
That's why, for everyone at home, calculation over everything.
COE.
Look at checks, captures, and threats first. If a check works, it can be so powerful, but...
Cannot believe it. That Magnus missed queen takes rook and rook d8 checkmate.
Correct. Which lets you know, guys, it happens to the best in the world. It is possible. And, they miss some things, right? This is a very small percentage of things that they miss here.
But you know
Crazy.
what's on the line here? It's the spot to the finals, right?
Yeah. He respected his opponent, which, of course, they always do. They have so much respect for each other.
That move was worth $50,000.
A lot of cash. Minimum.
Minimum $50,000.
Look at the bottom of our screens there. The eval has been roughly level the whole game, but that was that one spike. Magnus had a winning move. Now we're in the endgame, and currently Magnus is actually a pawn down, but he's going to regain the material on the next turn, and...
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, it's anyone's game still. Anything could still happen if he realizes this feels like a second life.
Yeah. It feels like Kaisa, the goddess of chess is on your side. If you survive that, it feels like the stars are aligning and you might have a shot to fight for this right now. He's up a pawn, but 2 pawns attacked by that Magnus, the last move that Magnus played, bringing the rook. And look at this. Maxime goes on to the offense. He's targeting the b2 pawn.
Yeah. For now, the black knight a bit misplaced. The black rook on a5 slightly passive. So Magnus does take a timeout to just defend his only weakness. He's going to regain the pawn next move, retain the advantage. But Maxime improving his knight.
Yeah. And how much is the advantage here, right? That 1 versus 2, as long as the a4 pawn is alive, you've got that clamp down on the queen side. Meanwhile, there's flexibility for Maxime on the right side of the board. Someone said something about the Alapin?
Yeah, you know, we
Endgames? Endgames?
This should have been over already, okay? But to be fair here, Alapin dub, 1-0. But yeah, that was crazy. I'm still like rattled from that. That's
Unbelievable.
insane. Because we saw, oh yeah, it's made, it's easier said than done, obviously. But man, the nerves are extremely high, especially for Magnus Carlsen. You can just see the nerves from both of them. He blundered the mate, and then the mate was missed.
What are the chances that he realizes it? What do you think?
Probably after the game, and of course when you see when someone tells him, you missed mate, you're like, oh, and then they're like, oh, and then all these like light bulbs and like.
But does he know it now? Does he know it now what he missed?
No.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, definitely not.
I think Magnus, he's so honest, he's so expressive. We would know if he had realized that he had a winning move. But ultimately, he's focused on this moment. I don't know who's going to tell him, who's going to reveal. I don't want to be the one. But in the meantime, Maxime's just given up a pawn. And he's just missed this move, a block. And this is a tempo-gaining block. Why did Maxime give up that pawn? It's so strange.
Yeah, because you trade on b4, white's pawn recaptures, and the rook on the side of the board don't have time to repick that pawn, the central e4 pawn. And that's it. He's up a pawn.
What's that about endgames? Now 2 pawns up for grabs. It's 2
So
versus
glad
0.
I'm not on the screen right now. And yeah, a4 pawn falls as well. But Maxime, is he trying to create some tricks with that e-pawn? That knight needs to get to g3. Knight h5 ideas.
He's also going to slide his rook. I'm not sure where, but he's going to slide his rook on the next go. Finally justifying why that rook has been standing on an awkward square for so long. And, oh, he just defends his pawn. So he is very much banking on his knight coming in. Magnus tries to shut the... Oh, still hanging in the balance. If Magnus takes his eye off the ball, this could turn. But for now, 2 pawns versus 0 on the queen side. If they start running, he's a favorite. He should still win this game.
Yeah, and that mate miss will not matter if Magnus gets the point, right? But if something goes wrong, that's going to haunt him for the next round for sure. Yeah. And the king comes into play. Maxime, he's trying to get all his pieces active. It's a race now. How does he improve this position? How does he give a check to that white king?
He's going to try and come in with his own king. Magnus doesn't see any threats, pushes pawns. Maxime's under 10 seconds on the clock.
Oof.
This is dangerous for him. The black king coming in, though.
You have to take that pawn back. The king moves back. And the knight, it just doesn't have a good jumping square towards the white king. That is the problem. Rook f2, stopped.
Ooh, the knight trade about to happen. Rook endgames are going to win for white.
3 seconds.
Oh, he's going to move. Just about made it there, Maxime. His pawn drops, though.
Oh, that's bad news. Because that was the soul of black's position, right?
Correct.
Now the white king gets out of the pin.
Easy pass pawns here.
White has 2 potential future queens on the queen side. The A and B pawns. Knight's gone now. All about the rooks.
2 extra pawns here on that left side of the board. Magnus, up on the clock, has got those extra seconds to navigate this.
He knows how close he is. He's getting a bit nervous, Magnus, because it's still not job over yet. He knows it's inside that finishing line. He's moving his king on over, but be careful not to get checkmated, that white king. The white king will hide in front of its pawns, given the opportunity.
For Maxime, it essentially keeps the 2 rooks alive for counterplay. 1 rook's traded off, and the pawns will start pushing up the board.
It's a check. The king will start dancing, start running forward now.
Yeah. Just do a zigzag onto that b5 square if the checks follow. Attacks the rook, attacks the f6 pawn in return.
Resignation. Whoa!
Magnus Carlsen takes the win. He books his place in the final of the Champions Chess Tour here. Wow, what a game. Maxime, we have to commend him on a great fight. He looks disheartened, but ultimately, he entertained us so much this whole week.
Yeah.